Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Modern Investing on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Starr. My guest today is Dr. Milan Sombarak. Welcome to the show, Milan.
Thank you for inviting me, Sasha.
Yeah, great to have you as always. So we are in red territory starting on Monday. It was a big day. Nvidia was decimated. I can't say it any other way because it lost $600 billion of its valuation. That's a
Astounding.
record for not
Record.
just US but any stock in the world for the last 500 years. So that's where we are. Yesterday it went up a little bit. Today it's down as overall market. Everybody's waiting for Federal Reserve make their announcement around 2 o'clock, so it's after our show. And in the meantime, Canadian bank lowered interest rates today for about a quarter of a percentage point. So this is very interesting situation. If most likely US will not change its interest rates, so Canadian dollar will go down to probably 67, 68 cents if it's not there already. But we'll see. And that make travel to US a little bit more challenging for Canadians. However, Canadian products will become more competitive compared to US. So we'll see how it will play out. Plus, on February 1st, we are waiting for Trump's tariffs come in at 25%. And will be very interesting how it will play out. I don't think that he will announce it on February 1st. He's got a little bit too much on his plate for worry about those 25% tariffs, which are could be some detriment to U.S. Economics and policies and so on. So this is I wouldn't bet on it that he will announce it on February 1st.
Economists universally agree that tariffs are bad for the economy,
Of
bad
course.
for people. Universally, but Trump doesn't hear, does he?
No, Trump has his own agenda. He's playing to himself and his group of people who is in power now. And the economy, the overall United States well-being of its citizens, or so on. That's the last thing what he's thinking about. So I think
But
it will, it will not go anywhere.
ski resorts that were close to Canada, like in Vermont, they
Mhm.
used to accept Canadian dollars at par.
Really,
Yeah, they don't do it anymore. They don't do it anymore.
they will go broke very quickly.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you
So,
know what's interesting is that a lot of people from Canada, specifically for some reason from Quebec, they're all selling their properties in Florida. The properties are coming down big time, and the reason is the cost of living, the taxes, the maintenance fees, everything is going so much that some people who purchased recently, let's say last year, and put some 15-20% down, they're just walking away from it because they cannot sustain the
the
cost.
people who have owned properties in Florida for quite a while, they will be making some money on their sales, won't they?
Well, they have to do it really quickly to gain something because the properties, first of all, there are not too many buyers.
Yeah.
So even if you put a reasonable price, it may not go for quite a while. So the bleeding will continue until you actually sell, regardless of the price.
Yeah.
So some people are lowering the price just to get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have my friends last year. They were able to sell their condo in Hollandale. They made them money because they purchased quite a while ago. And then what they did, they rented the same apartment for
Uh-huh.
3 months in the winter.
That's the only time they used it in the past, anyhow, to rent.
Exactly. But this year, even winter in Florida is not great because the temperatures are very cold. There are some days when it's plus 12 Celsius. and it's better than what we have here in Canada, in Toronto, and specifically in Collingwood. But still, that's not why you own condo in Florida to have plus 12, where you
I
can.
happened to be in Florida many years ago, maybe 40, 50 years ago, and I met a 19-year-old girl who had never seen snow, but that particular year it snowed in Florida. And of course, they don't have any equipment to deal with it. They don't have shovels, power tools, and so on. So it was memorable for her. Yeah, about 15, 20 years ago.
I remember one year, it was many years ago, 20 plus. I was flying from Fort Lauderdale to Toronto. It was full flight, full of people, and the temperature in Fort Lauderdale was plus 13, and in Toronto at the same time was plus 17. So I joked that all those people they are coming to Toronto to have a warmer temperature. It's too cold in Florida for them to stay. So today, market is really waiting for this announcement from Feds at around 2 o'clock. I think it's coming, and it's not even the importance of whether they will lower interest rates, which is unlikely, or make them higher, which is also unlikely. So maybe they will stay the same. What's important is the commentaries of Powell, what he's going to say about one
You
or
know, Sasha, what you're saying uh, totally makes sense in the short term. But
yeah.
we really should be in the market in the long term, even though, as I frequently mention, we may not be around, but our estate will. So we want our estate to do well. And where will the U.S. market be 10 years from now? You know it will be up. 15 years from now, it'll be up. 5 years from now, probably it will be up. Maybe three, maybe two. You know that I keep saying all the time, empires have a 100% failure rate, but the failure of the American empire is nowhere in sight. Everybody wants to have the money in the US dollars. My wife and I had nothing but US dollars in our portfolios for over 50 years, and it has served us well. And so that's what we recommend to all our members. Monday Morning Millionaire members, we have about 300 people, and we say to them, be in the US dollar. In the last 50 years or so, the Canadian dollar has been stronger than the US dollar only for two brief periods lasting not very long. So you can ignore that and be in the US dollar. And even though today you will be paying a hefty price for the US dollar, if you're Canadian dollars, in the long run, it'll serve you well. So we tell our investors if you're not in the US dollar, get there as soon as you can. And
Well, if you're
ignore.
in the market, and most likely you are dealing with U.S. Stocks or any other device, you are automatically in U.S. dollars. And what's interesting about it, that if you hold on to some positions which will not go higher, but let's say stays the same, but because of the appreciation of U.S. dollars, when you translate your holdings into Canadian dollars, you're still ahead of the game, believe it or not.
8%, 8% Canadians are up 8% for the strength of the US dollar alone. Never
Yeah.
mind the US market. We recommend against purchasing individual securities. Rather, we recommend that people buy the US market as a whole, as represented by SPY, which is an exchange traded fund tracking the US economy, and be in that market. In the long run, you or your state are going to do very well. Wall Street wants us to think that making money in the market is brain surgery and rocket science, and it is not. All people need to do is buy SPY, which is an exchange traded fund which tracks the US economy, and they're going to do well. Now, everybody knows what a mutual fund is because they promote them and advertise them so much. They have so much money that they can make in mutual funds that it's astounding. They push it and push it and push it. Not many people know what an exchange traded fund is, which is similar to a mutual fund, except you buy it from another investor and not from the seller of mutual funds, and it costs much less. And so over the last any 30-year period, if you take a look at any 30-year period, the US market has gone up about 1,000%. mutual fund holders have made 250% during the same period of time. Hello, where's that money going? Who's making that money?
In the fees,
Yeah. So
girls.
it's this program, we could end it right now by saying just buy the U.S. market and hold it, and don't buy individual stocks. Yes, they can go down, and as you said, Sasha, they can go down even further. But what we do is when the market goes down, the market, not individual funds, we buy more. And then if it goes down even more, we buy even more. We get to a point where it makes sense to borrow money to put it in the U.S. market. The U.S. market, we're not talking here the Chinese market, Russia market, the DAX, German market. No, U.S. market. Hold it, and as it drops, buy more. Now, you like the idea of selling an individual stock when it drops 7%. Well, for individual stocks, that might work. But for the U.S. market, when it drops 7%, we buy more. And if it drops another 7 or 8 or 10%, we buy more. And if it drops even more, we borrow. We get to a point where it is safe to borrow to buy the U.S. market. And it's all very simple. I can show our viewers how to own the U.S. market. Simply buy SPY, which is the symbol for an exchange-traded fund which tracks the U.S. economy, the strongest economy in history. And it'll remain the strongest economy in history for quite a while. Not forever. Nothing is forever. Empires have a 100% failure rate, but the failure of the American market is nowhere near in sight. So,
Yeah, I would think that if you believe that there could be some severe downturn, like what you described, 7%, 10%, another 20%, I would stay out of the market and just waiting until the downside will end at some point and market will stay for a while, then slowly will start gaining ground. And at that time, I would decide to enter the market. But while it's going down, I wouldn't touch it.
you know what you're saying, Sasha? What you're saying makes sense. It's a safe thing to do. But if you would, not necessarily you, but people would drive across town to save a few bucks on groceries because they're constantly looking for bargains, yet when it comes to the market, as the market drops, they run for the doors. That's the record. As the market gets more and more expensive, they jump on board when they should be taking profits. So what you're saying is a safe thing to do, but why wouldn't you buy the U.S. market when it's a bargain?
Because it could become even better bargain a day or 2
Oh,
days.
no, that's true. That's absolutely true, Sasha.
It's
And
only
when it becomes a better bargain, you buy even more. We're not talking about individual stocks. What you're talking about applies to
yeah,
individual
I realize
stocks,
it. Yeah.
but we're talking about the market as a whole. We discourage people to buy individual stocks because if you buy a stock, who are you buying it from? You're buying it from a seller. And why is that person selling? Can both of you be right? That is, if the market goes up, the buyer is right, the seller is wrong. The
Milan, you
market
just
goes
2 minutes ago, you just said that advantage of ETFs is that you're not buying for sellers of mutual funds, but you're buying on the market. You're
yeah,
buying it.
right.
That means that you are buying it from people who are selling, because if
That's true.
nobody sells, you cannot buy. So you're
That's both.
contradicting a little bit here. You're contradicting yourself.
You could say that it's a contradiction, but really what happens is people who follow our suggestions have their money will be either in SPY or in cash and
But
nothing.
how you get into SPY? You
Well,
bought from
you
somebody else. So it doesn't imply that one of you is wrong, either you or the seller.
you have nothing. We have a margin account. We need to have a margin account in Canada. We need to have a margin account. American investors don't. American investors can sell cash cover puts in any of the tax advantaged accounts, which Canadians cannot. So, a margin account, and margin accounts are dangerous because people can lose more than 100% of their money in a margin account. The only reason why we encourage people to get one is so they can sell cash covered puts, which they cannot do in tax advantage accounts in Canada as they can in the United States. So you have your margin account. So only cash or margin or a derivative. That's all that people can have. So it's not really a contradiction because they don't have anything but in their margin account SPY.
No, wait a moment. Milo, let me be a little bit precise here. What I'm saying is that contradiction is that when you are buying stock or ETF or anything else from somebody else, because otherwise you cannot get in. So you must, at some point, buy from somebody else. And what you're saying is that means that one of you is wrong, either you or the seller. And, when you're talking about that, and I allow you to talk about it as much as you want, but then you're saying about advantages of S&P 500, and you are forgetting about your own statement. So either your statement is wrong, or if it's right, then you shouldn't buy S&P 500 ETF.
Well, what you're saying on the surface appears to make sense, Sasha. But our members have nothing but SPY or cash. Now, people who own the individual stocks can buy or sell any of their individual stocks and keep hunting for real deals and bargains and that kind of stuff. But we have no choice. We have only SPY or cash.
I see. So your position is that if you're buying ETF, forget about this notion that one of you, either buyer or seller, is wrong. It's not really valid anymore because you're buying S&P 500, period. But if you're buying individual stock, then you are wrong because either you're wrong or your seller, whoever sold you, is wrong.
With individual stocks, you would be wrong about half the time. Now, if you were going to have an accident, guaranteed accident, 50% of the time you get into your car, who would get to drive? Who would drive knowing that there's a 50% chance of an accident? If you buy an individual stock, you got a 50% chance of being wrong.
I wouldn't buy into it because the accident, it's a one-time event that just happened, whether it's on the second day that you own the car or on the 20th day or whatever it might be. Now with stocks, even you bought it and it went down somewhat, then it reverses and it goes higher. So this is, I wouldn't find any comparison to car accident valid in this situation, unless you are buying and it lost 1 cent and you sell.
Are you telling people, Sasha, that when a individual stock drops 7%, get out of it?
Yeah.
That's your recommendation?
Yeah.
Recommendation
there's one exception. If you sold covered call, then it should be more than 7%. I would go as high as 14%. Because you have additional coverage on the downside. So then you have a little bit more staying power. Also, transaction is a little bit more cumbersome to get out if you sold covered call because you have to close 2 positions, which is very easy these days, but still consideration. So I would increase 7% to 14%, quite reluctantly, I must tell you. But I would probably do it. Say 10% probably would be right figure. But I would do that. But if it goes over 10%, 14 for sure, I would sell.
But if you held the American market as a whole by owning nothing in your core portfolio except SPY, why wouldn't you be buying the market when it's a bargain?
Well,
it could become even a greater bargain. That's true. Then you buy more, and if it becomes sufficiently great as a bargain, you can borrow money safely to buy the market when it becomes a sufficient.
And if the market goes still down and becomes even more bargain, and you already borrowed everything, sold your furniture and everything else, then what you do?
Well, there was a dentist who was very successful as an investor, and he recommended that people have a 50-50 asset allocation. That's important. 50-50 works, 60-40 works, 55-45, any of those work, so long as you have a lot of cash. And if the market drops 10%, he suggests you put a third of your money in there. If it drops another 10%, you put all of your money in there. And if it drops another 10%, borrow. It's a safe time to borrow. He made an awful lot of money doing that. And so Benjamin Graham, who taught Warren Buffett, also this man studied with Benjamin Graham, who recommended that approach. Benjamin Graham didn't make the kind of money that Warren Buffett did, but he was a womanizer and he knew how to live well. He was not afraid to drink and to have parties and that kind of stuff. Whereas Buffett might live sort of like you and I do. You know, we saw his house. We went to Omaha, and the taxi driver said, "You want to see Warren Buffett's house?" "Yeah, sure." Took us there. It looks like your house. It looks like any middle class, upper class home in Toronto.
So you were driving old Buick, I believe, 20 years old car. He was driving, and he was quite frugal, and he still is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, still is. Yeah. So we have a Tesla. My wife and I have a Tesla. We bought it 8 or 9 years ago. It has more than 200,000 miles on it. I've never driven a car for that many miles on it. We don't pay at superchargers to charge our car. We have one walking distance from where we live, and it needs no maintenance. So you take a look at a car that needs no maintenance and $0 to charge it. What a bargain that is. Now, you know, Elon Musk recently gave a Hitler salute. What caused him to do that? And a lot of people say, I wouldn't buy a Tesla because of Musk, not because of the car. The car is first rate. When I talk to people who own a Tesla, and when I go to supercharge my car, lots of people there. So, is this the best car you ever owned? Yes. They universally say, the best car I ever owned. I wouldn't buy another one because of Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk has made a bigger contribution to the American president, bigger than anybody else. Yeah.
True.
So Trump has received more money from Elon Musk than from anybody else. Now, Trump is against electric cars. How is this going to work out in the long run? Are Musk and Trump going to continue getting along when so much of the money that Trump has received and continues to receive comes from Elon Musk? And Elon Musk makes electric cars, and Trump is against electric cars.
Trump is a transactional president. So at the point of the election and prior to the election, Musk was very instrumental to Trump's victory, not only with his financial contribution, but his behavior, energy, jumping back and forth, and so on. Okay, so he contributed his time, money, efforts, everything. So Trump won. Okay, now Trump won. So the next question Trump will ask, what can you do for me today, baby? And what is that Musk will do for Trump today, tomorrow, or next day? What's your opinion?
Yeah. Contribute more money.
So what? Trump doesn't need any. Trump doesn't need money. He's already president. He's elected. So what
Trump has no problems with money. Yeah.
No.
So let me just shut up. My phone is ringing. Yeah.
Okay. So that spells to me that the honeymoon between Trump and Musk is about to be over anytime soon, if it's not over already. There are some actions. Trump is now lecturing the foreign governments, including in England, in Germany, and elsewhere. And does Trump see it as beneficial for him as the president, the supreme leader of the United States have somebody else who doesn't have even an official post. He's nobody. He has no designation, no official title
Yeah,
to do Trump's job. Why Trump would allow it? I,
yeah.
I have I have some reasons to believe that this honeymoon is going to be over and very soon.
It makes sense that it's going to be over someday, just like the honeymoon between Tesla owners and Trump. There are other electric cars today. There are self-driving cars. The next car that we will buy will be a self-driving car. I was speaking to a man next door. His mother lives next door to me. He lives in Toronto, about 2 hours away. He said it was a self-driving car. He just put his mother's address in there, and the car took him there. It stopped at all stop signs. It stopped where there was construction. It stopped if a duck or a goose went across the road, and took him there safely. And so, self-driving cars, the experts tell us, will be safer than the cars that we drive ourselves.
Yeah, you
And
don't fall asleep while driving, and
But you can. It has happened. People have fallen asleep driving a self-driving car safely, but they shouldn't be doing it. They should have their hands on the wheel. And so that's where the future is self-driving cars, not necessarily Tesla. All the other manufacturers are now making electric cars, and they were making self-driving cars. And Volvo has made nothing but electric cars for a few years now, and all other manufacturers now making electric cars, and many nations have mandated that all the cars on the road be electric cars when they're new. The existing internal combustion engine, fine, keep driving those.
well,
You can buy one from another owner, but all new cars that are made need to be electric cars. It's be better for the planet. The driving internal combustion engine has a very major negative effect on climate change. There are about 1.5 billion automobiles on the planet, each of which exhausts uh, carbon dioxide and other toxic gases, and so all of those will disappear. It's been a very long time since anybody saw a steam-driven car. Steam-driven engines in the railroad industry have disappeared. And the same is going to happen with internal combustion engines, in spite of the fact that people like Trump support them. I don't know why he doesn't hear the truth about internal combustion engines, but he doesn't. He has his own agenda. Interestingly, on another matter, a couple of meetings ago, I said that Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize, and yet in the 8 years that he was in office, he supported wars. And James he said to me, "Give me a list of wars that Obama had started," and he knew the answer. He didn't start any. He didn't start any, but he supported them all. And wars are very profitable. Wars are very profitable unless they're fought in your own country, because you take a look at the Depression. What that ended the Depression? All these people who were bums and unemployed and couldn't work and so on suddenly became gunners and machine gun operators and aviators. And uh, the Second World War ended the Depression because there's so much money in weapons manufacturing. So, do you need a war? Why not just manufacture the weapons and put them on a boat, go halfway across the ocean, and dump it into the ocean? You have you have the same effect without killing people. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. Obama didn't start any wars, but he supported wars every year in his presidency. And actually, interestingly, that history is written by the winners. And according to Noam Chomsky, every U.S. president would have been indicted at the Nuremberg trials using the standards of those trials. Every one of them. Yeah. So the United States still is the most powerful economic entity on the globe, and it will remain that way for quite a while yet. So we encourage our members to buy have all their money in American funds, even though today it costs a lot for Canadians to buy American funds. We encourage them to buy American funds because in the long run, and that's what we need to think about, they will not regret it. They will be happy they did it and own nothing but the American economy as a whole. Don't pick individual stocks. And so,
And another important point is that there are no commissions on buying ETFs. So when you're buying ETFs, there are no commissions. This is one advantage over buying individual stocks, where you do pay commissions. Even they're very low today.
commissions are very low, but in mutual fund, the costs, the hidden costs, the list is.
Oh, yes, but not in ETFs. ETFs.
Oh, that's true. That's true, Sasha. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mentioned maybe I think in our last program that over any 30-year period, the U.S. stock market has gone up 1,000%. During the same period, the average mutual fund holders made less than 250%. Where is that difference? Whose pocket is that difference in?
And it's handsome 750%. 75% of your hard-earned profits you paid to somebody who advised, or who, I don't know, whatever he did to get paid 75%. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
It's incredible. However, listen, this is people are making their choices, and if that's what they believe, they're done well for themselves. 250% is not shabby. 1,000% is made better.
We have 6 rules that we follow. Now, rules are always right. There are 2 types of investing. One is rules-based investing, and the other one is judgment-based investing. Rules are always right. Judgment is wrong much of the time. So what are the rules? Number 1 is save. Without saving, the other 5 don't matter. The second one is do it yourself. Now, I was in dental practice, and we had a number of very wealthy widows who knew nothing about the market, didn't care about the market. All they wanted is their check coming in every month that they could live on. They lived very handsomely because their husbands left them with a lot of money. So they were just interested in the dividends that these companies paid out. And interestingly, there is a group of stocks that pay dividends, and they've been paying an increasing dividend every year for 30, 40 years or long, increasing every year for a very long time. And they call them dividend aristocrats. And there are funds entirely made up of dividend aristocrats. And those have not done as well as simply holding SPY. But these widows don't understand that. They don't care. All they want is their dividend, which is very nice. Every month in comes a dividend check. And what the market does, they don't care. And so people like that can use an advisor. Advisors seem not to charge a lot, 1%, maybe even less. But over the course of a lifetime, that winds up to a full year's income. And some people need that. Some of these widows who just live on their dividends, and they live very nicely because the dividends are very handsome, because the husband left them with a lot of money. So the other thing that we always recommend our members do is that both husband and wife attend our meetings, because most of the time, the men die before the women. And most of the time, the women know nothing about investing. And investing correctly is not a big deal. So we advise them to, when we have our meetings, all the time, to have both the husband and the wife out there, because the wife will be a widow most of the time. And in addition to the pain of widowhood, she doesn't need the pain of not understanding how to manage money, because it's not a difficult thing. So that's our position.
This is very prudent, and we wish you a lot of success in upcoming week, and in half an hour we'll know what's happening with interest rates. For some people it doesn't matter. For some people are following that. So it depends. It's all very individual. So thank you for today's program, Milan, and have a good luck in trading or investing, and see you next week, same place, same time.
Thank you
Bye
for
bye.
your time. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. Bye bye.